disparity between instructors' knowledge of technology and use of online services and what have you, and what the students coming into college are expecting of them. And I think about David teaching online, and we're really blessed actually to have someone who's committed to keeping up with these things, because you know, the students are watching.
And I also think, I just read there's a new study out, I think I forwarded to you, on the effect or the impact of technology in the classroom on math learning, math and science learning. Not just to have computers there, but staff effectively using them to teach math and science. And I think it's important for a superintendent, as Steve says, to be abreast of those issues, and for David to be chairing that technology committee, I think is important for this district.
It is critical. You're going to see we're advancing new standards for students to the Board of Education, and what is likely to come out of that will be not a requirement, but a strong recommendation that before a student graduates from high school, that they have an online learning experience, whether that's directly part of the course that they're taking or it's a separate course, because more and more students going on to college, that will be a major requirement to participate and to learn in an online environment.
Well, as Steve says, in many cases, the staff is catching up with the student body in terms of use of technology, and I think it's important that at the top we've got an example of someone who's teaching online courses and showing the effective use of that technology.
Well, you're seeing, we're also, through Pam Bodwin's office, introducing what's called SharePoint, which are individual teacher-based websites.
Right.
So again, by password, students will have access to that, the parents will have access to that, and ultimately the goal is to have one set up in every class.
And I have to tell you, if we could at some point implement where parents can get that instant access to how their kids are doing, and by having that instant access and then sending an email to a teacher, you can catch things earlier, and you can. I know there are some teachers that are using renegade programs or outside programs to do that, and I just find that effective to monitor. You know, I wouldn't look at it every day, but every few weeks you check in and see, you know, how's my kid doing on X subject, and maybe some parents don't want to know, but I like to keep up with that. So I know Pam's been moving in that direction.
Wait, there's the tendency though to think of technology as just the communication tool, and I gained a better understanding of this at the conference last November. But what we're missing is teach kids how to use it for research. My son, for instance, will have a paper to do, and he'll Google Thomas Edison, and then he might get a couple of different printouts and merge it into his own paper, but he's not validating that those sources are accurate and true. He doesn't know how.
Some of those sources are.
Right.
They're just whatever anybody wants to say, and the kids are taking it as truth and putting it into papers and submitting it. And that's not how we should be using technology. And so there is a need to go deeper and teach kids, maybe before we get into an online class, how to really verify what's out there and discern what's really the truth for the subject matter.
Well, that's exactly why in that priority 3 we're looking at perhaps not restoring the traditional librarian, but merging that with someone who understands the use of media and research in a technology-based environment. So that's part of the gorilla that's out there too. How do you best change that?
The professional librarians are usually well trained in media.
Absolutely.
I just say ask Dad.
Which is different than just someone here to check out books.
Salem State has run into an interesting situation this year because the library was structurally unsound and had to be closed. And the librarians have been moved into different locations around campus in order to make sure that faculty knew where to go for the services. The librarians did more outreach than ever before, and it's had a silver lining to Salem State, because a lot of the faculty had no idea how many services were available, or how many online tools existed. And the amount of research actually going on has increased because of this unfortunate situation. Librarians have an extraordinary comprehension of the different databases that are out there and the research possibilities. Generally, they're well versed by discipline. A few librarians, they'll each take a set of disciplines to master, and the knowledge that librarians, professional librarians, have about media is extraordinary.
I think Maureen's right, though. These kids are savvy about finding the information, but it's validating it. That's they're pretty savvy about getting it, but.
What if you do it when you have to cite a source though, or something like that? I mean, it's, you know.
Right.
There's a way to.
There is a way now to cite a,
Yeah.
cite an internet source.
Yeah, but they're not reliable.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, as I said before we began this conversation 45 minutes ago, there's progress being made on these goals, and we'll review them completely. Although you won't be here for the final review,
No,
maybe we'll
I
call you
won't.
in. I think we should have Steve in for that night, just so we can
That's
review.
probably why he's leaving.
Bills and payrolls, are they done?
Done.
Minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes
I had just a couple of
on the regular.
editing notes.
Okay,
on the
regular
regulars.
meeting, March 24th, go ahead.
Yes, on page 3, down at the bottom, item 2D.2, there's a quote in there.
Oh, you just need
It
the
doesn't
quotation
have
mark.
to be in there,
Okay.
yeah. And page 4, under 2D5, planning preparation for town meeting, the apostrophe goes before the S, school committees.
That should be 2D4, shouldn't it? Because it went from 2D3 to 2D5.
Oh, see, there we go.
I didn't have anything else.
Make a motion to approve with those amendments.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Make a comment on the meeting.
Yes.
This was the meeting at which the school committee approved a pilot ACLU
Oh, correct.
club at the high school.
Oh.
And that's generated quite a bit of comments. And I happened to walk in at the end of the discussion and did vote for this. And I'd just like to say, some of the discussion has troubled me, because it sounded like people were basically saying, we can refute their point by not allowing them to speak. And that's exactly what the ACLU is fighting to resist, to make sure everybody gets a fair hearing. Suppose I, as a Democrat, said I didn't want a young Republican group in the high school. Everybody would be legitimately up in arms. The ACLU, like any other group of that sort, has a right to be heard, and we should be supporting that right. And if we don't like what they have to say, we should refute it with facts, not with threats or by trying to take away the forum.
A lot of you weighing against family values. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
Executive executive session minutes from that same night, March 24, 2008. Anybody have any?
Move to approve as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Budget update, Mr. Nelson?
There is none tonight?
Staffing? David?
New
Bids and
principal.
new principal, of course.
Contract.
Bids and donations, none. Subcommittee updates, none.
Nope.
Strategic planning updates, none. Administrative reports, David, anything?
No.
And any specific correspondence you need to? No. Okay. Our next meeting is
Actually, there should be, it's the
28th, right? April 28th,
April 28th.
Right.
Okay.
7:30 here.
I brought these back because there wasn't anything listed here before
No, I looked at it.
the election.
What happened to April?
That will be Mr. Jervy's,
Yes,
final
that's
meeting,
what I was
correct?
thinking about.
Okay, at this point, we have need for an executive session for the purposes of collective bargaining and to discuss litigation, and then we will return to open session for the purpose of adjournment. Could I have a?
Excuse me,
Oh.
I think you need to return to open session.
To vote
To vote
Oh,
on an issue, correct,
on a contract, yeah.
on a bargaining issue, correct, contract issue?
Yes.
Okay,
Contract.
okay. So could I have a motion for an executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Vaca, second by Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Derby?
aye.
Mr. Venezia?
Aye.
Mrs. Vaca?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
9:52.
No, yeah.
Both objectors.